Also in the studio, my panel will be here throughout the program, but our Sky News political contributor Chris Uhlmann joins me in the studio. Chris, we'll take a look first of all at your exchange with Chris Bowen at the National Press Club. This was during the debate a short time ago.
Chris Bowen, in December 2021, you commissioned modelling which showed, and you pledged, that you would drop power prices by $275 for residential homes. You committed to it again in April 2022 when you were told that that modelling was flawed. You continued to commit to it in 2023 and 2024 even though electricity prices were rising. You continued to be committed to it when you started subsidising power bills. And now this year, as subsidies now crack through a new record and they're going through to the end of the year, you're spending billions of dollars on that. You are now claiming that electricity price falls due to subsidies are a fall in an electricity bill. Now, electricity prices are rising, aren't they, Minister? That's written into every electricity bill, isn't it, Minister? And if you can't admit that simple fact here today, why should anyone believe anything that you say?
Well, thanks very much for the question, Chris. I'm not exactly sure what your question is really in reality. You've got strong views about... Sorry, you asked...
Are electricity prices going up
Chris, you asked the question. I didn't interrupt you. Yeah, I didn't interrupt your question. Do I get to answer it? Do I get to answer it? Thank you. You've got strong views about these matters, which you express on Sky News in the evenings, and that's your right. I disagree with the way that you look at these matters. I disagree with the approach that you take, respectfully. I think that renewable energy is the cheapest form of energy. You disagree with me. You disagree with the CSIRO. You're perfectly entitled to that point of view. I have said at the outset, in my opening remarks, energy prices are higher than I'd like them to be. Of course they are. I think everyone would say that. I think normal Australians at home also look around the world and know that people around the world are dealing with similar issues. Countries with different policies in place are all dealing with high energy prices. With great respect, it's disingenuous and dishonest of you to blame all this on renewable energy as you do on Sky in the evenings. It's just not right, sir. It's just not fair. You're entitled to that view.
I'll ask a very, very simple question. Have electricity prices risen on your watch the exact opposite of what you pledged? Have they?
We have never denied that energy prices are higher than we would like. That's why we've delivered 3 rounds of energy bill relief.
In the Treasurer's speech you wrote, electricity prices have fallen. That's not true, is it?
Well, the fact of the matter is, if you look at the recent data, Australia's had the lowest energy inflation in the world.
Why?
You might deny that, and I know you deny several things.
What's the reason for it? What is the reason for it?
Mr. Uhlmann, are you asking a question or are you debating?
No, it's just that you are completely avoiding it, as you always do. We get a
well, I know you're a man of strong views on these matters, and I said I've always had respect for you, but I have a fundamentally different view to the one that you have developed in recent years, which you express on Sky News.
So your premise on renewables is true. Electricity prices will fall in your next term.
Well, again, I refer you to the Australian Energy Market Commission report, which says if we keep the path we're on, energy prices would fall by 13% over the next 10 years. You might deny that, I don't.
So, Chris, what did you make of today's debate, that exchange, or indeed any of the hour and a bit that we saw down at the National Gallery?
I think the takeaway from all of it is that no major party has a way to get us to cheaper power prices, and that is the truth. And that truth should be told to the Australian people. And the reason Chris Bowen and I were having that debate was because back in 2022, I interviewed him at length about his policy. And I said to him that power prices would rise, not fall, because it was fundamentally flawed. And it's fundamentally flawed because it's based on the idea that renewable energy, wind and solar, are cheap. They are when they generate, but they don't generate most of the time. And the power price is not set by the lowest cost of generation. The power price is set by the highest cost of generation, and neither of those two things were actually ever addressed in the Reputex modelling. So it was always going to be wrong, and spectacularly wrong. And the only thing I seek from people like Chris Bowen and people in public life is that they're honest with the Australian people. The honest conversation is, if you want to continue on this path, this is what's going to happen. Power prices are going to rise, and if we don't get it right, the grid is going to become less stable. Now, all those things have been borne out. They're written in people's electricity bills. And every time, Thomas, someone talks to you about modelling, like the Reputex modelling, like the CSIRO modelling, we are conducting a real-world, real-time experiment. Believe what you see written in your bill. If electricity prices were not rising, The government wouldn't spend $6.8 billion subsidising them.
Do we get from the coalition a nod to that uncertainty? Because their policy clarified, I think, today, 25, 26, they're putting a figure on a drop, and beyond that, they're saying nothing, because who knows? Is that a more, is that the fact they're only putting a 1 year time frame on what will happen for prices? Is that sort of a nod to the...
Everybody is indicating that they've got some magic way of bringing electricity prices down, and we are now too far down the track and too broken a policy to be able to fix it with any sort of ease. This is what will happen. Coal will stay in the system no matter who is in government for as long as it possibly can, because when you remove the next coal-fired power plant from the system, the price of electricity will jump, and it will jump alarmingly, because something has to fill the gap that wind and solar leaves, and that gap at the moment is being filled by coal most of the time, despite what the Minister said again today. He talks always when he talks about wind and solar, he talks about their capacity factor, not the amount of energy they actually generate. Go and look at those figures and there's a very different story. So in the end, all we want from our elected leaders, right, is a certain sense of honesty about these things, and we are not getting it.
We will pick up more at the close of the program. Chris, thank you.